It's 7 o'clock and I like to convene the meeting. I will just note for the record that all the councillors are here, so we have a full quorum. And I want to start by asking Jason to say the opening prayer.
Dear God, we come to you today to ask for continued blessing on our community. We ask that you bless this meeting, give guidance to those entrusted and the elected to lead our community. Bless those less fortunate in our community and give peace to those that struggle. We pray this in your blessed name. Amen.
Amen. Number 3 in the agenda is a motion to approve the agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4 is approval of minutes of previous council meetings, plural. First is the regular meeting of council, October 12, 2021. Can I have a motion to approve this meetings?
I make the motion to approve the regular council meeting on October 12th,
Also,
2021.
All in favor?
All right.
The second one is to approve the minutes of the closed door meeting of October 25, 2021. I need a motion for that. All in favor?
Aye.
And the third one is to approve the minutes of the closed door meeting of November 1st, 2021. Motion, please. That one.
I'll make that motion, your worship.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Conflict of interest declarations. Any conflicts to be
Yes,
declared?
there is, your worship, on 6B with Granite Town Farms, Polly Cox. I would like to leave the room for that, your worship.
Okay, so noted. Any other conflict? No. We'll move on. Delegations. Granite Town Seniors Delegations. Jim Hanley has sent us a letter that he would be here today to ask us to make a request on behalf of the seniors, but he sent us his regrets because he's not able to attend today. So I will move on to the second delegation, which is the Granite Town Farms, Ms. Polly Cox, for an update on Visitors Information Center.
This is okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good evening, and thank you, council, for letting me be here tonight. Just to fill you in on what happened this summer with the informal visitor information center that we had. Jason came to us this year and said the previous council had decided that they did not want to have a formal visitor information center. They wanted to have more of an informal relationship with that, and that because we had done it in the past, that was okay if we continued. The signage could stay up and we would have tourists coming to our location. So I was just going to give you a report on that. And since that you all are new counselors, just to give you an idea what sort of is involved in the visitor information center and what costs are, what procedures are. Just, not long, but enough to kind of give you an idea of what, as you think about next year, what you may want to do. So when I think about the Visitor Information Center and having been in charge of it now since we took over, it's probably been 6 summers. The way I see it, there are some provincial guidelines, but basically when you have a Visitor Information Center, you have a dedicated space, you have dedicated staff, you have restrooms, and you have like all the time is covered, such as holidays and weekends. So for us, the dedicated space was behind our garage door. That worked very well. We could open the garage door. We had places for the brochures. It was very obvious when people walked up that that's where they would go. And as anyone who has a business knows, space is a premium. So This year, not having an official VIC was kind of nice. We used that space for ourselves. So we did not have a dedicated space this year. We, in the store or around or outside, we were able to still service and give information. We had a desk at we have 2 different desks in the store. And we also have outside. So, we just did it a little less formally. That was a little bit more confusing for people to walk in and wonder why the Visitor Information Center had chainsaws. But that was, that was interesting, but we still did that. And, we directed them, we have our stuff over here. We gave them the information, but we didn't have kind of that formal space because it wasn't rented by the town and it gave us the chance to use it. But it would be going forward, I think a little bit nicer for there to be a dedicated space. The other thing is the dedicated staff. When you have a visitor information center, you have to be prepared to greet the customers, greet the tourists, and be able to provide what they need, answer their questions, direct them where they need to go. What I found is having an informal visitor information center meant nothing to the public. When the public arrived to our location, they did expect it to be a regular visitor information center. And we ran it basically the way we have in the past with the, the absence of the dedicated space. So we pretty much, had to be there for them. We had to answer their questions. And because it wasn't as busy this summer, it wasn't so bad, but I still did hire 2 students. I still had to have some extra staff because it was just too busy. People would come, they would be waiting. You don't want people to leave not being helped. And we did help, I think, most of the people that came. I only remember one time when there were just, too many people there. That we couldn't help them, but that could happen in a regular year anyway. And they wandered around, looked at the gorge and things like that. So I don't think it was, it wasn't a terrible experience, but still there's a lot of people and you need extra people. And I did have extra people, which is important. The 2 students were great. They were very helpful, and it was still really, really nice to see people come from away. The first time I saw someone from the States, like the first year that we went through COVID, like someone came from away and we were all like, as if they had the plague. We didn't know if they had the plague. And this year I was just like so excited to see people from away, the people from the States. We didn't have anyone from outside of North America, but we did start seeing people from the United States, of course, Ontario, Quebec, these people we haven't seen, since before COVID started. And there are a lot of people that come to St. George, and people from all over the world come to St. George. It's very, very interesting. So the dedicated space, the dedicated staff, then you need washrooms. I had considered not opening the washrooms this year. You have to clean them, you have to look after them. With COVID, there's more work to the washrooms. And I considered that, but then again, people come to a visitor information center, they expect washrooms. So we had washrooms. So we did that. And then the other thing is the length of time that you're open 7 days a week. We did not open 7 days a week. We had the freedom to close on weekends and holidays. We kept our regular business hours. And that was because it was just, there aren't a lot of and especially when we have less tourists, there aren't that many people, but because we didn't have a contract, it was just easier, to be able not to have to worry about staffing on the holidays and weekends. So we did not. So what we did is we had the bathrooms, and we did have extra staff. I did end up having extra staff to look after everyone. And when you think about the costs of running a visitor information center, probably the highest cost is the labor. We did get Canada Summer Jobs funding for our 2 students. That covered. Well, I guess after that was finished, it was $193 a week for the students. And so over the course of 8 weeks, and Canada Summer Jobs does provide 8 weeks of funding. Typically, it's 50% of minimum wage. In the previous contract that was given, the wage for the student was $1 over minimum wage. And I did do that this year. I paid them the same as I had previously. I paid them $1 over minimum wage. So over the course of the 8 weeks that we had the students and the Canada Summer Jobs, it cost $1,500 for the students. And then there was some extra staffing after that. The students don't like to work in, obviously they're going to school. So toward the end of the summer, they finish their time. They don't want to do any extra. And then so we had to have extra staff to cover for a little while. It wasn't as busy, but going into September, it was busy. So there was another, additional $2,400 if you think about it for staffing. And the things that we provide, the things that a visitor information center does provide are things like the printer. We printed off lots of information for people, ferry schedules, directions to places. The bathroom, they use the bathroom, like you've got the hot water expenses, the cleaning expenses, things like that. You have the extra wear and tear on the driveway, like little things, lots of little things that can add up to the cost. This year, it was an interesting year to see what it was like to have a visitor information center without a contract. We did have provincial signs up right after Jason came. They put a new sign up. And so understanding that people come expecting, the full service. My recommendation to the town would be that you do have a formal arrangement with someone, that you do tender it out next year. I'm not, I think it should be a fair process. Someone else may do it better than we do. I think that we've done a good job at it, but I do think the council needs to have a little bit more of an official, structured, relationship with the Visitor Information Center. I think the value that we provided last year was probably around $6,000 to the town for the things that we did, and, the staffing, and, we have Wi-Fi, we have public Wi-Fi, we use the phones for people. There were lots of various things that we did, and it was a good year. And I would say, based on the tally that we had, there were about 399 visits. It was very slow. June was basically not a tourist month. July, it began to pick up. We started to see people from across Canada. Then starting in August, we started seeing some, people from the States. So overall, it was, I think, a good year. It's fun to tell people about our region. We have people come and they just say, it's a beautiful place. I didn't know how wonderful it was. Or they've come back from, past visits. So it's a great opportunity to tell people about St. George and our area. And anyway, I think that covers what I had to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank
If there are any questions, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Motion.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's a motion to
A
pay.
motion.
Oh, you're making a motion.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
$6,000 requested.
She mentioned for us to like put it on tenure.
Yes, but she's already spent that.
Yeah.
That was her, those were
That was-
response.
yes.
Very safe. Can she come back up? We can ask her that again?
Polly, could we ask you a question?
Yes,
You said your expenses for this past year was around $6,000. Is that correct?
I'd say that's the value that we gave to the town.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll make the motion that we pay it $6,000 for the service.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and it has been seconded. Questions?
We all agree.
I have a question. Is it possible if you can actually provide us a statement of the services that you have done, so we can actually use it against the $6,000 that the motion is to actually pay, just for our auditors and all the rest to be tick off?
You're talking about an invoice, perhaps?
No, she itemized a number of expenses that added up to $6,000. So if there is a motion to compensate for these expenses, so I just want to see if we can actually have something for the records of the town. Okay. Okay, and she agreed. Okay, so we have a motion that has been seconded. There are no questions. All in favor? So the motion has been passed. There's Brenda.
Oh, what about you?
We are moving on to the section 7 of general reports. And we start with the general government report. Jason.
Thank you, Your Worship. General government reports, this time of the year is budget time. Staff's been spending the last couple of weeks with finalizing the budget numbers for 2022. The Lower Bridge sewage line installation work, we're still awaiting some information from the vendor installer. Some questions that was posed to us from DTI to fix the sewage main on that bridge. Veterans banners, all the additional banners were finally installed last week, so there was some late additions that were installed last week. Winterizing, Public Works continues to prepare for winter operations with equipment repairs and in installation. Canal Beach, Silk Stephen has finally put out some invites for contractors for the beach work. It's going to be done in 3 parts. Construction was previously scheduled to start in October. Well number 2, gas tax fund top up for this year is now in, and ordering of items to take place to upgrade well number 2. Well number 4, replacement pump had failed and was replaced, and still working out some electronic some issues with well number 4. Some repairs being done in the Macadavic Place with a smaller meeting room after the removal of the service window in the kitchen, and also some painting in the downstairs basement area as well in the coming months. Town staff and staff from the planning with the Service Commission are continuing to work on a municipal plan. Documents and drafts will be coming to council in the coming months. Tendering of audit services. Tender closed December is going to be closing on December 3rd, and we'll go to council for December's meeting. Stormwater work in November, we plan to complete stormwater drainage work on the western end of Prince William Street. So there's some stormwater issues there up in the subdivision. Public Works Bay, we're going to be updating some insulation around one of the bay garage doors. We have submitted an application RDC for new computers and tables for the library. And just a reminder on some events, we're planning to have our special meeting of council November 15th for the budget presentation. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do have a
Okay.
couple of questions.
Yeah.
One is on the Lower Bridge sewer line installation work. Do they give any kind of an idea when they might start that? We're coming in November now. We approved this a while ago. What is the exact issue that's kind of stalling this?
DTI has some questions for the installer, so we've taken those questions back to the installer, and they've just not getting back to us. So the delay is on the installer's end.
Okay. The speed radar sign, are we getting any stats on that?
Yep, we do. We can log into it directly.
Really?
Yep.
Can we share?
Yep, I can pull that and send that report to council, definitely.
Okay. Okay, that's it for there.
Thank you. If there are no any other questions, we should move to approve the report, right? So
That doesn't need to be.
they don't need to be approved, okay? EMO status update. Jason?
Your Worship. As of today, there were 473 active cases, with 15 cases being hospitalization, 121 deaths in New Brunswick. 92.9% of the population received their first dose, with 85.9% receiving second dose. Town is working with Horizon on having a booster clinic in town. And it's a reminder for residents, though the land border has been reopened to non-essential travel. However, those re-entering Canada must show proof of a PCR test in the last 72 hours. So that's all I have, Your Worship.
Questions? I have a question with regards to the boosters. Do you know where this are planned to be done?
They were looking at using Macadavic Place, but with the strike right now, it's been postponed.
So if there are no more questions, I'm gonna move to the fire report and Chief can give us an update.
Thank you. I guess before I ask for any questions or highlight my report, I just want to add that we did a fair bit of maintenance work on the trucks. They had to go through motor vehicle inspection. And of course, while we have them up there, we look after a few other things that might be in need of some work. I do have to take 453 back one more time. There was a couple things that I had didn't have time to get done the last time I had it up there. So what happens is I schedule the truck to be in St. Stephen for the day and I take it up with me in the morning and bring it back with me at night. So I've got to schedule one more day for that truck to get that up, and then they'll be good for this year, hopefully. Also, I've been working with Jason a little bit on the budget for next year, which is, I guess, sort of reflected in this report. So in October, it was a slow month as far as the number of responses. We were down to just 5. I think we're well up over that again already for November. Training, not a lot going on. We're kind of with COVID restrictions right now. We're keeping that to a minimum, and it's not the time of year where we do a lot of training. Hunting season, people are getting ready for winter and all that good stuff. You will note, and I've mentioned it the last couple of reports, that we're getting into that third and last quarter. So it was time to start purchasing the things that we buy every year. Radios, pagers, phone boots, gloves, hoods, and that stuff. That's all stuff we buy every year. We are looking to replace an old oxygen trauma kit for doing first aid. And we're getting a bunch of our hose recoupled. That was a project we started last year. We bought the couplings, I think, last year. And but the machine, it's a specialized machine that we use to put the couplings back on the hose. We have one at St. Stephen, but it got broke and it was fairly costly to replace. So it took me a little while to get that replaced, but we're up and going again now. So I hope by the end of the year to have all of that hose back into service on one of our trucks. And the last thing I mentioned, we'll have to wait and see where the budget comes in. But I think based on what I've spent here and anticipate needing to spend before the end of the year, there should be some money left in equipment and some of the other lines that potentially we could spend, unless it's needed somewhere else, on some TMR equipment to kind of boost up that seed cash that they were going to give us. We had talked about in other meetings it wasn't going to quite be enough, and we wondered what we would do. So I think, and we'll have to look a little closer, but there might be some dollars available to do that. Maybe 1 or 2 radios, and that would be enough to help manage, I guess, a little better coming into the new year. Anybody have any questions about any of that?
Just to make sure that you can, like, if you have surplus on your budget and you want to use it for the radios, we should be giving you an approval. Like now is November. So do you need anything from us to actually proceed with this purchase?
Well, I think as long as there's money within the equipment budget, I think with Jason's approval, we can do that.
Okay.
If we're going to say, take it out of another line, non-equipment related, then I think we ask your permission to do that. But I think we'll come back next month with a definitive recommendation one way or the other on what we're going to do, or hope to anyways. But yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chief Morton.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
Building and planning report, Mr. Henderson.
So As Jason mentioned, the Service Commission will be available next month if council so desires to be able to present a background study on the municipal plan. So this is a somewhat lengthy document, but goes through all the issues facing the municipality and some of the opportunities and some of the constraints which are identified and potential solutions for those. In local planning or current planning rather, we met with the town CEO, with the developer on a potential housing development. It would require rezoning if it were to proceed. It may be something that can be publicly presented to council at the next council meeting. So this would require rezoning of land, and we would write a planning report to council for your consideration. Currently, we're also researching some best practices on transportation planning. So we feel that these are going to be useful for some of the town of St. George's planning bylaws that are going to be needing updates after the municipal plan and during. In terms of development, as we mentioned before, this has been a very good year for development for St. George. Total building permit construction value is 14.7 million. That's 22 permits to date. There's 4 of those are new in the report period since last time I presented to council. And the value of those 4 was just over 300,000. In addition to building permits, there are development permits, which are permits for zoning compliance. And these are separate structures, which are not the same as the building permit structures. And these also have a high value in total this year, 1.6 million in value. And just one of those is new from this report period. We also had 1 new subdivision plan approved in the report period. So it brings the total to 3 new subdivisions. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Questions? I have a question. This transportation planning, can you just give us a bit about what it's about?
Sure. So with transportation, there's a couple things which we will advise council on when it comes to, say, a new subdivision proposal. When there is a new public road being proposed, we have to give you advice on its suitability to the town and its needs and emergency vehicle access and suitability on width, length, and turning radiuses and whatnot. So we use fairly standard documents for reference that are used in the Department of Transportation for reference, but municipalities can also go a little bit beyond that if they so choose. So we're looking at different options that also take a lot more consideration of cyclists and pedestrians. Whereas most conventional standards are primarily auto-oriented. So St. George has an opportunity to look at some of these and bringing in some standards that are more thinking about the right of way for all users as opposed to just the car. So that's kind of where that's going and what we're thinking about. But of course, it's council's decision to implement those and through either a municipal plan or through the subdivision bylaw, for example. But we'll present those to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. No questions? Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Water and sewage report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Water and sewage reports for the month of October. Average daily water consumption for October is not available at the time of the report. There was no total E. coli and coliform reported. Well levels are low, especially at well number 4. New siding on well number 2 has been completed. We can do the roof when we remove the pump from the current well and fit it in. A water audit was held in the 13th of October by the Department of Environment. This is the first in about 3 years. A recurring deficiency in our water operations is to have a water tower maintenance plan updated to include the new water tower and remove the old one. We have been engaged with engineers at CVCL for this plan since the new water tower entered service in 2016 and have not received one. A new well pump has been installed as of on November the 3rd at well number 4. We have been working on the SCADA system with Shadcom to make the data capture more accurately. The power from the unit at the town office has been changed to put on a battery pack backup system, so we don't lose our display in any outage. We've also added more eyes on the system by adding a pressure switch at number 4, and the standby generator has been scheduled for repair. Our circuit board was gone, and we currently move the battery charger to the generator itself. So if we move it, everything goes with it. The crew completed their natural gas awareness training the 6th of the month. One of the sewage pumps in the Marsh Lane lift station has been sent away for repair. One from the Latit Road Station number 4 was recently repaired as well. In the report includes the results for any of the testing that was done in October. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. Questions?
Can I ask why it's taken CECL 5 years to come up with a plan?
Wish I had the
I'm
answer
just
for that. Yeah,
curious.
yeah. Guess it's just, it's not for the lack of trying. We've certainly asked.
I mean, CBCL, not you.
Yes, yeah,
My question too, why are we so slow?
yeah.
This is pretty important, right?
Pardon me.
This is pretty important. to have
It is
on.
part of your certification, yes, yeah. And we've gone around other routes to go to the builder of the tower themselves to get a maintenance plan. However, it needs to be stamped by a New Brunswick engineer, so we had to go back to the drawing board. So we thought we actually had a good plan to get a maintenance plan. However, it needs to go back to engineering. So,
Do we have a report as to why our water levels are low?
usually with well number 4, it goes to what the water levels are at Lake Etopia. So this time of the year, usually it will go low.
Okay, so it's
Um,
tradition, it's a traditional.
It is,
cycle?
it is getting more and more difficult to refill that well, just because there's a marsh there that has seen lots of growth now. The water level's been held so low at the lake that marsh there's less water in that marsh now. So, so there is certainly a concern there. We've had some talks with Irving about trying to do some trenching in the marsh with Ducks Unlimited. So, so certainly it is a concern.
But the trenching that you mentioned has been proposed a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah, we've talked with Irving. Again, it's going to come down to whether, it's who's going to pay for the work and, who does the work. Ducks Unlimited used to do it, but now it's trying to find a vendor that actually does this type of trenching. It's like a zigzag shape, instead of just going in and trenching out a marsh. So.
Any other questions? Transportation report.
Thank you, Your Worship. The veterans banners have been put up along with remembrance flags at the post office and the Civic Center. Asphalt work included the area on Main Street East and Brunswick Street, as well as 2 manhole adjustments on Latit Road. We finished patching on South and Macadavic Drive, Siller Court and Manor Road. Water was shut off at the cemetery and the garden for the winter. We will bring the flower pots in as soon as possible and stored. We are getting prices on guardrail repair to the damage on Little Lane. 3 guardrail posts were replaced on South Street, and I'll just add to that. That is an assurance claim for the driver. The 3-ton and the 2-ton were undercoated, and the dump body painted on the 3-ton. 3-ton also had emission warranty work done in St. John. Some playground equipment was taken to St. George Elementary School. Crosswalk signs were moved to closer to the crosswalk themselves. Additional signage will be installed and updated. Floats at the canal and Day Adventure Center were taken out for the season. Some loom and seeding was done in various spots. Leaves are being collected as time allows. And the rink house here up at Macadavic Drive was removed and the power disconnected. So, Your Worship.
Thank you. Questions? No questions, so we'll move on to item number 8, bills paid and payable in principle for October 31st, 2021, in the amount of $120,035. You want to introduce, so we're gonna go to questions. everybody has the bills. You want to actually ask questions?
No,
or-
no, I was gonna- okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you want to actually say anything other than the report? No. So
That was-
questions, the floor is open for questions.
The company that did the asphalt, are they going to fix some of the spots in the spring that they left a mess?
Where
Like
was
out
the
by
mess?
Dennis Hall's place, when
The
they
uneven,
didn't finish
the
it
uneven
off there
ground, it would have to
properly?
be removed and pulled back out. We've had a discussion with them. We haven't heard anything back.
So they are gonna fix it then,
They have not said yes or no.
okay.
Can I ask a question around, it's probably just me, really. It's on page 1 of 7, and then we turn again on 4 of 7 under the utility fund. It's okay to ask of these questions in this financial?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It seems to me that there's a double posting of the same amounts. Number 65110, but it says 65110 here as well. It was budgeted, doesn't seem to be used, it hasn't even used at all. I just wondered why it's in twice.
Perhaps was it a credit and a debit? Was it? Is it?
No, it doesn't appear to be.
What was it for?
It's for the administration water wages.
Okay. So that's a salary that comes, it comes out of our general fund and it goes through our utility fund. So there is a deduction within.
But they're both
general.
in utility fund.
Um,
And we haven't used any of it. The fiscal year to date is 0.
That's right. We do that at the end of the year. We'll
Okay.
move salaries over at the end of the year
Okay.
utility fund. So
But
it
my
could have been.
question really is, why is it in twice?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that. Most of the time, it will be one lump sum.
Yeah.
So it could have been two sums, but I
No,
will check on
everything
it.
is identical except for it's listed, it's posted twice.
That's utility. Okay.
Mhm. I also have some questions around the utility income around the residential and the industrial. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it looks like we have $83,425 owing to us
Outstanding. That would be about
Outstanding,
right for
yeah.
this year.
in the industrial, and we still have 2,356 in residential.
Yep.
Now, any of those residential are 90 days or over?
Yes, there would be some from earlier. Yes, that would be
Okay,
the July billing.
Okay. So how long are we going to leave this go?
So we have water shutoffs in April and September. Those are final
Okay.
billings. So
So they
that's,
get to,
yeah,
okay.
we don't charge interest or anything.
Now, historically, on the industrial, that'll clear itself up?
It will.
Okay.
We've tried in interest in the past to speed up that process and fortunately didn't work.
Any other question?
No, I'm good.
Any other questions? So if there are no other questions, I would move for a motion to approve the bills paid and payable in principle for $120,035. Moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? We are moving to item 9, committees of the town. This is a subject who has been broached before. I just want to introduce it for a minute before I open it up for further discussion. We all have received some time ago a committee descriptions draft that describe the mandate and identify individuals who have been who have volunteered to join these committees. So the question came up that we may need, the committees have been approved, but the mandates have not been approved. So this is an opportunity to actually do any modification to the mandates that you feel appropriate, and also to discuss a second part which relates to something that our lawyer has identified that we may need to add to our bylaw with regards to the number of times that these things need to be met, or what's the maximum number of councillors that may be attending one of these committees. Some legalistic things which the town lawyer found that they're appropriate to be done. So I have in front of us the committee descriptions. I'm going to ask Jason if he has any suggestion about how to proceed with regards to this part of the agenda. I would have proposed to actually hear questions or motions related with changes and discuss them and vote on them so we can clear the mandates and move forward. If, everybody agrees with this approach? Can I have a motion to discuss and approve the mandates?
Approved to discuss the mandates.
We introduce this topic in the agenda after consultation with all the councillors, so we'll be able to resolve a reason for which advisory committee work has stalled after receiving notice from our lawyer that we need to change a few things.
I do have a question before we go any further.
Yes.
Why did I not get this draft in my package so that I could have reviewed it?
My understanding is that everybody has received this draft months ago. It's exactly the same thing that has been distributed. Let me ask this question. 1108, is that 8 is the month? 1108 means November 8th? Okay. Can I ask, because I'm addressing Mr. McKinnon here, who was the one who drafted and distributed that. Can I ask you, Chris, when this thing has been first sent out to the councillors?
The bottom right corner indicates 9/21.
Okay, so that is
September 20.
September 21. So everybody has received that on September 21. So I
And that is true. However, it was not put on the agenda in
Okay.
September 21.
on the agenda, we have the item. Let me read it from you.
It's put on the agenda today,
New
yes.
business committees of the town. Maybe we can ask our CAO to introduce the subject of this new business.
Yes, Worship. So this was in draft form since September. It's been a topic of, it's been out for discussion, through email, any input was open for input. It's been in a draft state until as it is today. So I guess, with it being on the agenda today, if it's council's wishes to approve this committee and the mandates, then that would need a motion. If not, then so this would go back for further debate.
So essentially, I would like to clarify if the council wishes to table this for another few months, or if the council wishes to actually get on with the committee descriptions and mandates so the committees can do some work. So I would like to have a motion on actually, on actually continuing with approving these mandates unless there are changes for them. Otherwise, we have to actually table it for reconsideration after another 2 or 3 months.
I think that we should table it for this meeting and then maybe discuss it at the December council meeting, because there are some questions that need to be answered before we can make a motion to pass this as such. Maybe we don't need as many committees that are here. I can see myself personally, there's 2 committees that I can't think can be rolled into one committee. Like your volunteering and community support and your parks and recreation. Could that not all be together?
I'm going to ask the deputy mayor who had actually defended the 2 committees a couple of months ago. Can that thing be consolidated?
They could be consolidated, yeah.
They can be consolidated. So here we have a motion to consolidate the volunteering and community support with the parks and recreation.
That's just my opinion.
No, this is a motion. I mean, anybody wants to second it? I mean, Barbara seconded it, I think.
Yeah. I would have to
Yes,
vote
so
on
all in favor for that?
it. Aye.
We also in our discussions talked about perhaps,
Let's clear up this one here, this
Okay.
consolidation. So, so far we have 1, 2, any other person in favor of this proposal from Councillor Coulton that has been voted so far by 1, 2, 3, 4. So, okay, so we have, yeah, okay. So this consolidation has passed of these 2 committees. Did you have another suggestion?
we did have in discussion the number of people on the committee. So what happens now when we consolidate Parks Recreation and volunteering together, we have quite a list of individuals. Some of them are doubled up, I see, but I think we need to make a decision, again, table this for next month to make a decision on how many people we really want on a committee. Because having 9 or more on a committee is really too many.
Just for clarification, this particular example that you brought up is the same people on the council side, and it has
It's doing like 8, I think.
let's see, it has Cynthia, Christian Burke.
I think 8.
If there's 9 altogether.
No, it's not, they're not nice, they're less, they're Elizabeth. Hughes, Burke. Yes, there are 5 public representations in the committee. Does anyone suggest that 5 are too many in a committee for?
It's a big committee for 9. To have 9 on
No, it's
the-
5 from the public. 5 from the public. I mean,
I think what needs to be determined is how many council representations each committee will have in addition to public representation. So that should be discussed, I think, for the next meeting.
Yes.
I don't believe that any council was forced to be in the committee. People have volunteered. The whole idea behind a committee is people have an interest to volunteer for a certain thing. The question is there any inherent limit that right now is considered?
It just seems a big number for a committee. That's why I think we should put it.
So is 7 people a big number for the committee? The only reason for which I'm making a point is there are some urgent issues where we need the input of these committees to actually move on. The Christmas activities is one. Some of the issues related with plans for the spring is another one. So I am personally trying to have the committees working while we are resolving some bigger issues. So my specific question is, are 7 people too many?
There's 9 on the
There's
committee,
9.
and I think it's too many.
4 councillors and 5 members of the public.
Okay, so is there any councillor who wants to actually drop out?
I don't want to drop out.
Okay, so we're all,
Well, you're on every one of them, Mr. Mayor.
by law, I did not volunteer for that. The bylaw calls for the mayor to be part of every committee, and that's why my name is in every one of them.
Okay.
So that's the reason, that's the only reason. Otherwise, I have enough work to do, and that's why I want to have some volunteers to actually do the work so we can do other things, council things.
Well, we've only added 1 extra person in the public representation if we combine the volunteering and community support and the parks and recreation. Because 1 person is on both committees.
Correct.
So it's
Yes.
only 1 extra public representation. The council representation is the same on both committees.
Correct.
So if we could just go on to this.
Actually, frankly, the only committee which I believe has some urgency
Is this one?
is this one. Yes.
And we've already decided. that-
So I would have liked to actually have it working while we resolve the bigger questions. So we can table the thing, but we can leave a note to the CEO that this particular consolidated committee should continue its work because there are urgent things to be decided. Everybody agrees with that?
You can do that.
Okay, so we have a motion to actually continue with this consolidated committee and a motion to move the committee things for the December meeting. Seconded,
I second it.
okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. BIA, Business Improvement Area. I'm going to ask Jason to introduce the subject and then we can actually see what.
Your worship, so this would be for the business improvement area. So we have 2 bylaws with the business improvement bylaw and the business improvement levy bylaw. Both of these give the authorization or the authority for the province to collect 2-cent levy on property that's identified as the BIA area, business improvement area. So that's areas properties in the main street downtown area. So as of right now, 2 cents is being collected with those properties. There is no active BIA. They've yet to submit a budget or even a list of officers. So we are required from the province when we submit our budget this year to ensure that we are saying that there is an active BIA, and for the year of 2021, there's not been an active BIA. So we've done some surveys. We've sent letters this year to gauge if there's any interest to continue the BIA. We've had 3 respondents, and only 1 of those was in favor of keeping the BIA going. The other 2 were not really so much in favor. So we've had really just 1 person in favor of continuing the BIA. So what we would need to do if we're going to continue the BIA, we would need to see a list of officers. Out of 1 person that's saying they want to keep it going, that would certainly not be enough to form officers and a president, a treasurer, and a secretary. Council would need to, if the interest is not there for the BIA, we would have to repeal those 2 bylaws to remove them. As of right now, the 2 cents is being collected, it's almost like a double tax for those businesses. So we've been doing that since 1983. There's been some years where a BIA has been very productive. We've, so things like the town logo came from BIA initiatives, Main Street beautification projects. But seeing no BIA now, we certainly couldn't submit to the province and say there's an active one to go ahead in 2022 to collect that other 2 cents. So this is not something that goes away forever. If suddenly there's a bunch of businesses that want to bring this back, we would just reopen those bylaws and we would just reinitiate those bylaws. But Certainly, if it's council's wishes to collect that 2 cents, we'd have to have an active group. So I guess, going forward, we need to repeal those 2 bylaws.
It has been suggested by some residents that practice in other municipalities, Charlotte County, was to actually give to the BIA members certain money to actually do their own thing for improving their local spot in the town. There is a requirement by the bylaw for that money to be transferred to a third party. Can that thing be administered by the town for the purpose of the business improvement area?
So if the BIA is dissolved through the repeal, any funds that would be held in the BIA would come back to the town, which would then have to be earmarked for that area of beautification. So that the main purpose of the collection was for business improvement, for improvements to the BIA area.
Yes.
So it would be used for the downtown area. So that's what we'd have to use the funds for. So they'd have to be used earmarked just for that.
So can we continue collecting that for the purpose of earmarking it for the BIA area?
No. So the BIA it governs itself through its own list of its own officers and through its own budgeting. So we cannot facilitate a meeting or anything like that. That's be done by them. So yeah, we can't even submit like a budget for them. It has to be free and clear of the town.
So you're asking the council to put in dormancy 2 bylaws, essentially.
Yes.
Is that something that's legal?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
We can actually set up 2 bylaws dormant
We'd have to repeal them.
or repeal them.
Yeah, we repeal them. That would-
Or we repeal them. We
yes.
repeal them.
Yeah.
And the process for repealing bylaws is one that has multiple readings, and
No, it's
it's just a motion. You can actually
It's a motion
sweep
to
the bylaw
repeal.
off the thing.
Yes.
So it takes 3 readings to be introduced, but it can be swept in single sweep. Interesting. Okay, any questions?
Their worship, just to add to that too, and I guess what the idea would be was we bring this back to council in December and for repeal of the BIA.
So there is some additional research to be done or to actually consolidate the positions of whether BIA exists or not?
No, we can certainly do that tonight if it is council's wishes to make a motion tonight to repeal the bylaw for the BIA and then the bylaw for the BIA levy. We can certainly do that too.
I think I'm a little curious as to why did it suddenly just dissolve, or was it like the last time that I was involved with the BIA, Andrea Mason was involved, and Sarah Sparks, so nobody's just interested.
It's interested, no.
It just seems really strange.
And we've sent letters and surveys and there's been really like I said, we've had 3 responses, 1 positive, that's it.
There's no interest
Well,
from the local business on the front street. I'd like to make a motion to repeal the bylaw, because why collect money from businesses that isn't being used for those businesses, and you don't have the BIA in force right now? And why not give the businesses a little break? And the money that's there, give it back to the businesses or beautification of the front street. That's just my opinion.
Give a motion to, so I would need 2 motions. I need a motion to
Well,
repeal.
we have the second motion, so Sam seconded. So are there any questions?
And your worship, just to clarify, this would be 1 motion to repeal the business improvement area, and then I'd need a second motion to repeal the business improvement levy. Two motions.
So
So first motion.
can we consolidate them in 1 motion, or can it be 2?
Typically, when you're dealing with bylaws, 2 separate motions.
Okay, so
Do we have the bylaw numbers?
I don't know. No. We only have the 2, so
say again.
we only have the 2, so.
Okay. So the first bylaw is to actually that we are repealing today is the one that repeals the requirement, the BIA or the decision of the BIA. Okay, and seconded, and questions, there are no questions, so all in favor?
The second part of that.
I'll move that we repeal the levy then.
Yes.
Correct. So the second motion is a motion to repeal the levy that has been raised for the BIA purpose. And I'm going to give a minute to the CEO to consult.
So it's just been clarified that, yes, the BIA's business BIA bylaw is bylaw number 29, and this would be for 31, the levy.
Okay, so right now we are the motion is to repeal the bylaw that prescribes the levy for the BIA, and we have one has been moved,
It was moved by Barb and I seconded.
yeah, and seconded. And questions? No questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so no BIA. Garbage collection and the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. Do you want to actually introduce the subject, Jason?
I could certainly.
Try it, and I'm going to add at the end.
Yeah, so this was brought up through discussion of the town to bring back a recommendation to the Service Commission to look at possibility of the Service Commission taking over collection of garbage. Right now, that's done through contracts with not only LSDs, but most of the municipalities, all but one. So the thought was that council would bring that back to the Service Commission to say that there is interest by this council to have the Service Commission seek out the possibility of collecting garbage.
Thank you. I just want to add on that one that Blacks Harbor is already doing it. And the predicament that we may face in about a year is that our current contract with our contractor ends, and the situation is such that the suppliers of garbage collection have shrunk down to almost one. So we are operating in a near monopoly situation, and that can change the pricing very fast without us having possibility. So what I hope that we can achieve today is a motion to actually bring a recommendation to the Service Commission to actually look at getting into the garbage collection business. They are in the business of waste management. They're operating the dump. So this is a natural extension of the current thing. So essentially, I would like to have a motion for this council to actually make a motion to make a recommendation to the Service Commission.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How much longer is the contract that we have now in effect?
A year,
It would be another 2 years.
2 years.
2 years?
Yes. I mean, just to if I can elaborate a bit on your point, if we want the Service Commission to do that, we'll have to do their own feasibility study and scope if they can or they cannot. And based on their feedback, we may have to actually prepare, because normally negotiations for a thing like that, we're going to start maybe in a year time,
Could be at least
like a year before the contract ends. You don't start the month before. No. So. Anyone has any concern about or any comment about making that recommendation to the Service Commission on behalf of the town of St. George? Okay, so can I have a motion to actually make a proposal on behalf of the town to the Service Commission to actually look at the feasibility of getting involved in the waste collection of this town. So can I have a motion for that?
Or motion then.
Any second? Am I allowed to second? No, I'm asking, I'm the expert there. Am I allowed to second a motion that's made by a councillor?
You can, but as chair, it's usually,
I will make the motion. And I'm gonna put for questions if anybody has any questions.
I have one question. Do we even know if the NB Southwest NB Service Commission is interested in this?
We want an answer on that one. That's exactly the purpose for which we are putting it to them. Any other question? So, we have a motion and I'd like to get votes. Who is in favor of this motion? I am in favor of this motion.
You're looking at the proposals to look at the different options.
You have moved on a motion.
Yeah.
Are you gonna vote for it?
Yes, I'm going to vote
Thank
for
you.
it.
So, so I have two in favor. Councillor Allison?
Nay.
Nay. Nay. Nay. So the motion has been defeated. Update on the Habitat for Humanity properties.
Mr. Worship, just give an update to council. Some questions on the Habitat for Humanity properties that were basically the town sold the two parcels of land on Brunswick Street. This was done back in, this was done back in the summer of 2020. Purchase and agreement was that Habitat for Humanity would be trying to place a home on one of the lots by the end of October of this year. So we have been speaking and we have been in communications with the organization. And last communication we had was spring of 2021. I'm waiting to have a meeting with them this month as well. And they advised the town that due to pandemic and impacts of the typical arrangement with the community college for building homes, that they would not be able to have a home constructed by the end of October. So we are formalizing an extension to this agreement and have a call with the organizations actually this month. In hindsight, at the time of the agreement, the pandemic was underway, and it was thought at the time that the timeline of 14 to 16 months may be a little difficult to meet even at that time. But so just to give background, Habitat for Humanity, they get the homes brought in from the community college. And even as of right now, community colleges with the ongoing strike are just not in session, no hands-on. So so they've asked for an extension to that agreement. So we are looking into that.
Are there any questions on this new business from the update on the Habitat for Humanity properties? Everybody's happy about the situation. Okay, thank you very much, Jason, for the update. We don't have any old business. We'll move on to point 11, correspondence. Association of Interior Designers of New Brunswick.
Yes, Your Worship, just a correspondence directed to the town. It's the interior designers of New Brunswick, just to advise that there is a practice act that's been enacted in the province, which gives legislation for any certified and registered members of interior design. So it was just an FYI to the different municipalities that there is actually an act that that basically certifies and registers interior designers. So Just an FYI.
Okay,
Who knew?
it's nice to know. I suppose no one can call himself an interior designer without being a member of that association and pay his dues. Thank you. Moving on to item 11B, Eastern Charlotte Waterways regarding Project Village Car Share.
Yes, your worship, letter is well distributed to council from Eastern Charlotte Waterways, just in regards to their project Village Car Share. Just giving thanks for the towns taking the time to consider working with them. We are certainly continuing to have communication with Eastern Charlotte Waterways and placement of these vehicles. As of right now, there's no plan for this current year or the next little while to put any of the cars in town, but they are still, working for potential sites and locations. Certain requirements there of making sure that they're monitored and certainly central to town, but just to sort of give thanks for the town for participating with that project.
So just for the record, the vehicles of the Eastern Charlotte Waterways right now operate in which areas?
We Blacks Harbor and St. Andrews and St. Stephen.
St. Andrews and St. Stephen. Okay, you have any comment, question about this matter? Okay, we are moving into the item 12, public presentations and appearances under bylaw number 80, section 5.8, which gives members of the public the entitlement to address the council for 5 minutes with no debate from council on matters of municipal jurisdiction. And just for the logistics, I'd like to know how many people are here to actually take advantage of the public presentation. 1, 2, 3. I see maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna take the thing as a yes, just to actually make sure that we'll give you the opportunity at the end to actually decide. So how we should do that? Alphabetically?
Go ahead.
I'm curious about committees. I know you've talked about it a fair bit. Where would one get a list of the committees, or could you tell us what the committees are? Is it on the website?
Excellent question, but I'm not allowed to talk, but it's an excellent question.
We have it on the website.
Well, you mentioned a couple of the titles, so you must be allowed to. Or no, you can't.
It's an excellent question. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's an excellent question.
Okay, I'll look online.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is April McLaughlin.
You can take your mask out. I mean, you're
Oh,
far
sorry.
away from everybody.
You get so used to wearing it
Yes.
now. My name is April McLaughlin, and I'd like to thank the mayor and the councilor from the Granite Town Gardeners for the use of the macadamic. We very much appreciate it. And if you need our help with anything, please feel free to ask.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I understand, I understand that there have been a first meeting, right? Yeah. Go ahead. You can have the floor. Hello.
My name is Jenna Murray. So I just have a question. I'm sure you're not allowed to answer it, but can people from outside of town join your committees?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
this is any Canadian, I suppose, right, Jason?
So I just want to bring up bylaw number 86. It's the conduct on social media. It's the conduct of all councilors. And in this, it says a councilor means any member of council, including the mayor and deputy mayor. So the conduct was created in February 2020. It was written to prevent the type of embarrassment we are seeing on social media. by the mayor. The public is to be dealt with in a responsible manner. The way the trolling is going on Facebook is not okay. Saying that you have to live within town limits to have an opinion, but yet then we're allowed to join the town committee doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what St. George would be without its neighboring communities. Can you imagine if Back Bay, Lake Utopia, Penfield did not support LeBlanc's independent grocer? Pretty sure if we use just the residents of St. George, he wouldn't stay afloat. You also have budgeted from money from the RSC for the McAdavid Center. So this has yet to be approved by the local committee. And it's a regionally focused committee. So I can't imagine them ever approving that money for a town that doesn't want to move forward regionally. And that's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next presentation, please. I'm sorry, is there any other one before? Because I thought that was. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
The only question I had was just with regards to the YMCA being moving, where they're moving now to St. George Elementary School, and it may not prove to be a sustainable place for them to hold their daycare. They're not going to be able to, I'm assuming, do any kind of summer camp in the summer now. That opportunity is going to be gone. So I'm just wondering what council has for plans moving forward to help provide the services that they decided to let go.
Thank you. Any other 5-minute presentation?
Hello, everyone. Tracy Craig. I'm a resident of Lake Utopia and have a business in Upper Latang. And I just want to start first, I guess, with regarding the committees. So in an exchange between the mayor and I back in July, I was actually asked to serve on one of those committees. The committees are Economic Development and Balanced Population Growth Committee, Volunteering and Community Support Committee, Public Works Committee, Public Safety Committee, Public and Recreation Committee, Municipal Communications and Social Media Committee. To which I responded, of course, thank you, John. I currently serve on the board for the economic development of Eastern Charlotte. So I'm sure we will want to have someone from there sit on committees 1 and 5. Also, someone from our YMCA advisory committee will likely sit on 5 and possibly even 2. And I also serve on my LSD advisory committee. So not sure I personally will have the time, but I'm excited about the growth for the region. And I continue to be involved on many levels. Some great work has been and continues to be done over the past several years. With your mandate of collaboration being strengthened by these committees, I believe it will help us continue to move our area forward. Thanks again. I'll be sure to share the town's information about each committee and help identify those who are willing and able to serve. I then received a response. Thanks, Tracy. A big part of our challenge as the greater St. George is to weigh the St. George priorities vis-a-vis the construct of the Eastern Charlotte concept. In these committees, one should bring the greater St. George hat. This is very important. At this stage, we are soliciting interest from individuals who have a commitment to the greater St. George area and not from organizations who have a particular interest in our area. I hope you can find some time in the future between our different your different board obligations to contribute to the St. George Economic Development Advisory Committee. Best regards, John. I then requested to stop in for a coffee chat because I think perhaps I was a bit confused and could use some clarity. We did have a meeting after that. And so that's a little bit about the committees. So this evening and listening, I was actually I'm like, okay, so Tourism Information Center is gone from the town. The BIA is gone. The YMCA is potentially gone. And then we had information about the consolidation committee, recreation and volunteerism being combined. And what better organization than the YMCA, whose mandate is volunteering and recreation to serve. So Mayor and Council, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that people are tired. I'm concerned that people are ready to stop supporting those whose vision serves only the few in the town of St. George and not the many surrounding the town that we all call home. I'm concerned that people are ready to stop supporting those whose vision stops at the end of their term. People are looking to support those who share a vision of growth and those who share a vision for everyone and for a long time. Those who share a vision for seniors, for children, for roads, for recreation, for all of it. We see that and we want to help. We don't see that the burden is falling solely on the current mayor and council, nor on the sole responsibility of the municipality. As the largest municipality in the sub-region of Eastern Charlotte, you are a service center to almost 10 times your household count. The community, as evident over the past few weeks, clearly doesn't want you to choose seniors over children. I've sat in on many council meetings where the conversation became roads over recreation, St. George over Eastern Charlotte, a library over a hub. And now an underused building over a global organization that is known for building strong communities. The community that you serve wants you to have it all. We want it all. We want you to lead. We want you to partner. We want you to collaborate with the thousands around you who shop in your town, who have businesses in your town, whose kids go to school in your town, whose parents live in your town. We want growth. Several of you campaigned on collaboration, on volunteerism, on progress post-pandemic, and yet the opposite seems to be true over the past 6 months. Instead of engaging with those who have been trying, who have been community leaders for decades to move pre-pandemic projects ahead, instead of trying to partner with those groups and organizations and volunteers who have put in the time and energy and resource into understanding what challenges we are faced with and working together to problem solve, we have consistently heard no to all of them. No to community development of Eastern Charlotte, no to the YMCA. No, we think we can do it better is what we are hearing. Needless time and energy and resources have been spent recreating a wheel that already had momentum and was excited to work with you to put St. George on the provincial map for tourism, for housing, for recreation, and for growth. I personally have applauded you and your desire to have more and want more for your residents. We want more too. And we can have it all, but we must be willing to look beyond the current situation, beyond this term, for the sake of progress.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you very much. We have the statements of the council coming up, and I always start from the right. Councilor Allison.
I would just like to thank everybody for coming tonight, voicing your opinion. And everything that you said, I will take it under my little hat that I have and try to see what we might be able to do for the town. That's all I have.
There are many challenges the council has to face. Hard decisions, not always popular. Very expensive ones sometimes. Taxpayers have to pay the price. There's only so much money. Decisions have to be made. Not always popular, like I said. Hard decisions to make. We're just a new council. There's many things. Tracy, you talked about the hub. That may come down the road. I hope it does. in regards to the RSC return on this area right here, the citizens of the town are gonna pay an awful lot of money this year at that 2%. The return is about 30 for us. It's not much, not even enough to keep this running, nowhere near. Nowhere near. I would say.
Thank you, Sean.
We're a new council. Give us time to do what we want to do. Don't kill us before we have even had a chance to get out of the starting gates.
These words should not be uttered in these chambers.
Okay, I take back everything I said. then.
The kill, just take the kill out. Okay, let's go with Deputy Mayor here.
No, I agree. We've listened to everything you have to say and we take it under advisement. And I think it's rather sad that so many things have been said that maybe shouldn't have been said. I'm sure we can all get along and get somewhere and work through this. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Councilor Duterte, Stephen. Statement.
I just want to start off and say that the council does support the Y. And we're happy that they were able to find another location that was suitable for them. And we are, our council, I think we are for population growth. That is and does remain to be one of our priorities. It's not a unilateral approach, but it's a very complicated thing, but I believe that we can do our best at it. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming, and we will take everything that was said here under advisement. Thank you.
And I just want to make my closing remarks. I want to thank everybody for coming. There is one matter of privilege that I must address, which is something about a bylaw that the council has passed years ago. This mayor makes media and town positions that the council is approving, and is doing that through the town. As an individual, he has all the rights and privileges of a Canadian citizen, and he intends to exercise them to its full extent during his service for the town and afterwards. Secondly, I would like to address some developments that have been. Can I have quiet, please? In the last meeting of the Service Commission, there has been a committee being formed to address problems with attracting and retaining physicians. And a lot of, so Stephen has an acute problem with some recent resignations or doctors quitting. So there is a new committee that's being formed. And hopefully it will actually seek the input from all the municipalities. I hope to be part of that committee. I have been doing some research myself. And one of the things that I have heard again and again and again from the doctors is the need to have a balance between work and life. And when the system is very stressed, that balance cannot be achieved. So one of the things that I'm hoping that we're going to be capturing in the consultations as we move forward is to actually ask the doctors who came, who have been wined and dined and then left, and actually capture from them the fact that they did not find what they want, not only in St. George, but also in other municipalities who have a lot of recreational facilities like St. Stephen. And I want to actually mention that through the social media interaction last few weeks, I realized that there are many individuals who do not know that this town is crying for volunteers. We had a festival this summer, and a lot of the people around the table had to work until midnight to actually move equipment in and out and make it happen. Please look at our website. There is a special form to register volunteers. So we would like to actually get the pool of volunteers being built. So if need arises, we can tap on them. And that is my closing statement. I notice here that the date of the next regular meeting is December 13 at 7 o'clock at Macadamic Place, just before Christmas. So you are welcome to come again. I mean, they will have a nice to see so many people around. And with that, as the alarm comes, I'm gonna want to have a motion. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.